Kerry, for having me, and thank you all for having me here. It's great to actually be able to do this. A bit over 12 months ago, there's no way that this would have even been a possibility. So it really is amazing what we can achieve when we put our minds to it and when we have the right support around us. We've all heard that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But what does that journey look like when the first step of the day is preceded by the oral equivalent of 100 milligrams of morphine? Just to get out of bed, just to be able to roll over in bed. I never thought that my life would look like that. I never dreamed of it. I was a hard worker. I owned my own business. I'd done sound and lighting and event management. I travelled all over the world doing events. I want to thank Chris for coming. She was on one of the tours that went through Eastern Europe. And you know, this life that I had, touring with bands, doing all this sort of stuff. And then one day I'm sitting in the car, going through my mental checklist. I had a youth event that night. And all of a sudden, I hear this metal on metal, and I'm jolted away from my mental checklist. But it wasn't a mental jolt, it was a physical jolt of 3 cars being pushed into the back of my car. My sister was sitting in the front seat with me. Her 3 kids were in the back. And it wasn't just a jolt that dragged me away from my mental checklist. It was this searing pain that went through my back. And I knew right there that this doesn't quite feel right, but I had a job to do. So the way I was raised, you just suck it up and get on with it. And I think I made a trip to the GP, but nothing, no tests or anything. 6 months later, the pain was increasing, and it was just after that I proposed to my amazing future wife. And she didn't really know much about what I was going through either, so I just kept it to myself, thinking I could tough it out. Eventually, the day of our wedding came, and I think there she started getting a bit of an idea, because we did our first dance, and it was more of a sway as she held me up as my back had given out, and really couldn't move much that night, that afternoon. So I knew that things were getting bad, but medications, surgeons, that sort of stuff, I'd never been one for that. But within a year, things had gotten so bad. So, like most people, you start a few endone, a few long-acting medications, maybe some nerve medications. The doctor put me on a small dose of Lyrica, and this is only temporary, we'll get you off this. And I did the physio, I did acupuncture, I did pretty much everything that you could imagine. All the while I was physically doing less and less, and my weight was increasing, and I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which I just sort of swept under the carpet, and I don't want to deal with that. Took the tablets, but didn't really take it seriously. Certainly didn't take my diet seriously. And you would think that would be enough to jolt you into some sort of reality. And then finding out that my wife was pregnant, and we're going to have this baby and this little person to look after, maybe that's going to be enough to, a wake-up call. Then Kim was born with a heart defect, and at 18 weeks, she went into heart failure. So that was a whole other stress, and trips to the Royal Brisbane 3 times a week. My coping mechanism was food and alcohol. So you're mixing that with the opiates. I have an addictive personality, evidently, and it was good for pain relief. I actually said to my doctor one day, the alcohol was just the active ingredient for the pain meds. And it's a dangerous slope, but it still wasn't enough to make me change. I still ate wrong, did all that, and was sitting at the doctor one day and they tell me, oh, you need to go on insulin. Your blood sugar is that bad, insulin. So I'm thinking, oh, well, at least that'll control the diabetes and I won't have to worry about that anymore. All the while, my pain meds are increasing. By this time, I was going through a box of endone every couple of days. I was on long-acting meds which really weren't helping, and my GP at the time, he said, look, I think we need something stronger, so he put me on a fentanyl patch. And I'm there thinking, oh, this is great, it's a strong painkiller, it's going to help me with the pain, I'll be able to do more. Yeah, no. The more I took, the worse the pain got. Suddenly my body is screaming, you're in agony, you need more, constantly needing more drugs just to get through the day. And all this time, I'm so thankful that I had a supportive wife, but someone who didn't just sit there feeling sorry for me and going, yeah, here, have some more, She ended up taking them off me because I couldn't be trusted to follow the prescription, and I was just self-medicating, and so Kim took them off me and locked them in a safe so I couldn't get to them. But I was still taking a fair bit, and obviously we got through the pregnancy, and amazing little girl was born, and that just brought up so many other issues, and I remember looking at Hermione and thinking, I need to get better so that I'm here for her. I need to make some changes. And I went to the diabetes clinic, and the head endocrinologist, she looked at me and she said, Damo, you're now on 350 units of insulin a day and your blood sugar's still not under control. If you don't change, you'll be dead in 5 years' time. This was 2013 that she said it. And I sat in the car feeling sorry for myself for a long time. And went home, popped some more endone because that always made me feel better. Kim and I discussed it, and we decided that I'd have weight loss surgery. So I had 12 months to wait for the private health to kick in. It's a long 12 months when you're told you've got 5 years to live. That's a fair chunk of what could be the rest of your life. And all this time the pain kept increasing. I kept taking more. By this time I was on a 50 microgram patch for the fentanyl, which is the equivalent of about 30 to 40 endone a day. Plus I was taking endone on top of it. Plus I was taking 2 different long-acting opiates. And and on this massive dose of nerve medication. So it's like tag team. So I had the weight loss surgery. At the time I had it, I was up just over 200 kilos. Fairly inactive, as you can imagine, being in constant pain and that huge. And obviously I've lost quite a lot of weight. I've lost just over 100 kilos in the last 5 years, which it's actually the 5th anniversary of my weight loss surgery tomorrow, so we're really excited about that. And it's 6 years since I was told that I had 5 years to live, so that's even better. Within about 3 months of having the weight loss surgery, I was discharged from the diabetes clinic with them saying, no more meds, you're clear, totally diet controlled, we'll test you again when you're 50. So that was fantastic, but the pain was still there, the pain in my back. I had some people saying that if you lost the weight, you wouldn't have this pain anymore. There are some doctors that you could go to with your head falling off and they would say, lose weight, you'll feel better. And that's just how I felt. I think the turning point was after losing all this weight. Kim walked in to find me on the floor one day. I'd fallen, I was in absolute agony. Obviously the pain meds weren't helping. That night I emailed more than a dozen surgeons just begging for help, and I heard back from one. One surgeon in Brisbane emailed me back and said, send me your scans. So we sent them off, and her receptionist rang me the next day and said, Sarah wants to operate on you next week. This should have been done when the accident happened. When did the accident happen? 8 years ago? So there was a long time between when I should have been operated on and fixed to when someone finally took it seriously enough to go, yes, there's something wrong there. So by this time, I definitely had nerve damage. But Sarah operated, then she went in and operated again 3 months later because the first one just didn't work. She removed half a disc and I was still in pain. She finished up by saying that there was nothing else that she could do, so I just resigned myself to the fact that these medications were going to be the rest of my life. I was told, you will never work again, just enjoy what time you can with your family and make the most of it, deal with it. You know, that really messes with a young person's head, and when you've always been a fit, relatively fit, active person, and suddenly you're told just go home and keep taking these meds. Thankfully, we found a pain specialist on the coast here. And my first experience with him, I said to him, don't you dare try and take my medications away. I won't stop. It's what's keeping me alive. Forget it. And to his credit, he never once suggested reducing anything. Instead, he added a new medication. So I was stoked. This is giving me more. But he had a long-term plan in mind. And this is the thing about getting the right people around us. Ones that know when to shut up as well. Yeah. And that's what this guy was. He took me on a journey, and he put a nerve stimulator implanted in my back, and he admitted about 6 weeks ago that he was really disappointed when he did that because it didn't reduce my pain levels that much. I didn't reduce my medications at all. But I can look back now and go, well, I was enjoying them too much. They were blocking out pain from the accident, the mental pain. I still, to this day, cringe every time I go past that intersection. I cringe when I walk past an ER room because of the treatment that you get when you are on opiates. But he never pushed, and I had a fall in the end of 2017 and was hospitalised. And it broke my heart because I'd been doing all right. I had 2 hours a week where I was working, which I know doesn't sound much, but when you're told you'll never work again, it's everything. And as a result, I was sacked the next week. So that was just proving to me that I was worthless. And my only comfort, I didn't have my food anymore because of the weight loss surgery. The only comfort I had was in a little white, yellow and blue box that could take everything away for a little while. But my pain specialist, he rang me and he, "Damo, I need to see you." So I went in and he said, "I want to take the stimulator out." I'm thinking, yeah, great, just take something else off me. But he sent me for an MRI and he said, it's exactly as I thought. The problem was never fixed, even with your surgeries. So he sent me to another surgeon who sent me for 5 tests. I got really angry with him because every time I'd see him, it was go for another test. But he ended up operating after about 6 months, and I knew when I woke up that something was different. I had that hope that you just know. There are times where you just know that something's changed, and whether it was purely the change in my back or a change in my mind and the way I felt, probably a bit of both. But within 2 months, I'd said to my pain specialist, I want to start reducing these medications. And he was just like, oh my goodness. So he put me in hospital to do that because the amount of the equivalent of morphine that I was on by this time was over 200 milligrams a day, which is just massive. But to reduce that much is really hard, and it's really hard to do it yourself, and dangerous. So he put me in hospital to do it, and I've been talking to Kim about this, and I said to her, I'm not going to just reduce the meds, I'm going to get off them. If my back is actually fixed, I should be able to stop. I've got to do this. I've got to take this one last chance that this has worked. So with that, I told my pain specialist, and he sent a psychiatrist in to see me. I look back now and go, yeah, okay, I probably needed that, but I said to the psychiatrist, look, I don't care what you say, I'm getting off this stuff. So it was a short, sweet conversation, but the pull of those drugs is so strong. My pain specialist came in the next night to see me, and we had this massive fight. And I ended up saying, I don't want to stop taking them. I can't stop. The pain will be back, and I just can't do it. And he walked out, and Kim looked at me and said, what the hell is wrong with you? This is what you've been wanting, and now you've just told him you're not going to stop. Huh? But for someone who is on that, it's like every breath you take relies on when your next fix is going to be. I had a long sleepless night that night, and when he came in the next day, I apologised to him for my behaviour, and he said, look, we're just going to reduce your meds by half and see how you go. After 10 days, I walked out of that hospital completely drug-free. He saw that I was serious, but I also realised that I had to take that chance. I had to know for myself whether this was going to be my life or if I could make something else happen. A couple of months later, he put the stimulator back in because there is pain there, and I have pain every day. But now, most of it is controlled with a little remote control. It's like a TENS machine in my back, and I can turn it up and down, and I can change the settings, and it's great. Maybe once a month I take a painkiller, which is probably no more than the majority of the population of Australia. I understand that I'll have to live with some sort of pain for the rest of my life. And, you know, I wanted to come here. When I was asked to come and speak, I was thinking, how do I finish this story? Because, you know, yes, it's great getting off the drugs, but I wanted an end to it. And I was talking to Kim about how I was really frustrated. Well, last week, I was reversing out of a car park. And now that I'm not on drugs, I drive and do all that. But I nearly ran over someone who was walking behind the car. And he stopped. We got into a conversation. It was someone that I'd known for a few years. I start work on the 8th of next month. I've been offered a full-time job. So, you know, to go from you'll never work, go home, have these drugs, and forget it, to I've taken a full-time job and start next month. I never thought that would be possible. So, you know, I just want to encourage everyone that you know, there is hope. We just got to push forward and have the right people around us.